Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from not the Commander's Core studio. Welcome to the show. So today's episode comes to you courtesy of my amazing patrons. Once a month, my patrons vote on what commander they'd like to see in an upcoming episode, and the commander that gets most votes wins. And the commander that they chose this time is none other than the Goose Mother. Oh my goodness, is this a spicy commander? One that I, never expected to see, and then when it came out, I was like, okay, that's a thing in Magic, apparently. A 2/2 bird Hydra with flying that costs X in Simic colors. Enters the battlefield, X counters on it. When it enters the battlefield, create half X food tokens, rounded up. Whenever it attacks, you may sacrifice food. If you do, draw a card. So this commander has a lot going on. It is your typical Hydra, right? In one way, at least, where, hey, it's an X mana Hydra, and you're like, hey, put X into it, get X counters, cool. So that's one way you can do it, obviously, and that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be getting a lot of counters on this. Unlike most Hydras, though, this one does fly, which can get through typically on most of your opponents, which is fantastic. On top of that, though, there is that food aspect to it. Again, you're not getting a 1-to-1 counter for food. You're getting half as many rounded up, but still it's a lot of food tokens. There's a lot of exciting things you can do with those, including, well, at the very least, I mean, either sacrificing them by paying 2 and tapping and sacrificing them for life if you need to pad your life total, or, yeah, just when you attack with this, sacrificing food to draw cards. So dig deeper down in your deck. So this can be a source of card advantage for you. It can be life gain. It can also just be a giant heavy hitter that takes out your opponents in, I don't know, maybe 3, 2, or even 1 shot. So, yeah, this is a pretty crazy commander. We're going to do some pretty crazy things with it, and the price is pretty crazy as well, just $18.56 according to Moxfield. Keep in mind that doesn't include the cost of shipping or basics, but you might already have those, or maybe you can borrow them from a friend, your LGS, or you can just buy them in bulk. Regardless, if you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into the tactics. And the first card that I want to bring up, the first tactic I want to talk about, is the Golden Pig of this deck, the #1 card out of 99, and that is Knight of the Sweet's Revenge, a crazy good card with this commander. Enchantment for 4 mana. When it enters the battlefield, make a food token. Nice, so you already get another food token. Your bird Hydra is going to make some too, but more importantly, most importantly, foods you control have tap, add green. So, now with this, well, let's read the rest first. Pay 5, green, sacrifice it. Creature control +X/+X, and we'll have X number of foods you control, activate as sorcery. So if we need to pump our commander, we can. But going back to the most important thing, hey, your foods are now mana rocks, essentially. Your foods tap for a green. So when we're casting our commander again, we are essentially, as long as this is in play, ramping at the same time. If you make your commander into a 10/10 and you're making 5 food tokens, congratulations, you just ramped by 5 as well. An incredible card for this deck, and one that can be a finisher as well. Definitely worthy of the title of the Golden Pig. Next up, though, not quite to Golden Pig standards, but still very nice ramp. Let's talk about Wayfars Bobble. First up, there's Wayfars Bobble. Pay 2 tap, sacrifice, get it basically in a play tap. Fodder Fertility, basically an enchantment version of Wayfars Bobble. Then we also, at turn 1, have Wild Growth. Enchants one of our lands, taps for additional green. Lovely. Then we've got Rampant Growth. This one's the standard OG ramp, essentially. 2 mana, go get a basic into play tap. Edge Realm does the exact same thing. We've got 4 fewer lands. And later in the game, if we don't win it anymore, we cycle it away by sacrificing a land. Fertile Ground. This one is also a great turn to play. Enchant one of our lands, it taps for an additional mana of any color. Cultivate, go get 2 basics. 1 goes into our hand, 1 goes into play. Tap. Harrow, sacrifice 1 land, get 2 basics into play. Untap so you can utilize that mana right away. Speaking of which, Search for Tomorrow, a great turn 1 play. Spend 2 for a single green mana. Basic land comes into play. Untap so you can use it right away. And then finally, Serene Druid, ramp on a creature, enter the battlefield, sacrifice a land, get 2 basics into play. Tap. Next up, though, you might think we're done with ramp, but we are nowhere near done just yet because, again, our commander loves when you just put a bunch of mana into it. Again, a giant X spell that can be a finisher on its own, can also be a giant token generator. Yeah, we want a lot of mana. So we're also going to be doing, well, a lot of more mana things. Colony Heart Expedition. Landfall, once we get 3 counters on this, whenever land comes into play, we sacrifice, we get 2 basics into play. Tap. Moving on, Nexos. I love this card. Play more basics, people. Cards like this are incredible with that. Basic lands you control have tap, add colors. Spend this mana only on costs that contain X, which again our commander does. So all of our basics essentially account for 2 mana each. That's crazy powerful on a 2 mana 2/2. Moving on, Genesis Wave. Speaking of crazy powerful, another X spell that we'll have Nexus help us out with. X, green. Fill the top X card to your library. Put any number of permanent cards of mana value X plus among them on the battlefield. Put all cards available this way that weren't on the battlefield in your graveyard. Again, we can get a lot of free permanents into play, including lands, so keep that in mind. Next up, Grow from the Ashes. If we kick it, we get 2 basics going to play untapped. If we didn't, we get 1. Either way is great. Inspiring Statuary, kind of like a Golden Pig Jr. a little bit. Artifact for 3. Non-artifact spells you cast have Improvise, so our foods can help tap for mana to help pay for their costs and to pay them. Oh, it's so good in this deck. Next up, Explosive Vegetation, 4 mana, get 2 basics into play tapped. Then we also have Invasion of Zendikar, which basically is the exact same thing, but also it's a battle that we can take out. When we do, flips over and we can tap for mana with it. Migration Path, we can cycle it away or get those 2 basics, basic Explosive Vegetation. Basswood Surge, exact same thing, or we can kick it. If we do, we get 2 counters on each creature we control, which is fantastic. Frontier Siege, a spicy card in this deck. And just battlefield, choose Conjure Dragon. Typically, I would say you choose cons. Beginning of each of your main phases, add green your mana pool. Dragons, whenever a creature with flying is battlefield control, you may have to fight target creature you don't control. This can be like removal for your commander. Again, it does have flying. It's going to be quite massive. But the amount of mana that you can get with cons is absurd. Again, every single main phase that you have, that's 2 per turn, you are getting 2 mana. So it's 4 free mana per turn to work with, which can help ramp you in a crazy way. Mist Renewal, speaking of crazy ramp, 6 mana, 3 lands into play, tap, gain 7 life. Verdant Confluence could be the exact same thing, well, without the life gain. Put 2 counters on target creature, return target permanent card from your grave to your hand, or go get some basics, essentially choose 3. You can choose the same mode more than once. And then finally, Verdant Mastery. You spend 6 mana, you get 4 basics, 2 go into play tap, 2 go into your hand. You spend 4 mana, you're getting 4 basics as well, except only 1 goes into play or under your opponent's control. That's okay. They can take 1 though. That's all right. We're going to share, and we still get our 3. We still get 2 into play tapped and 1 in our hand, so that can still be quite good. Now, you definitely might be thinking we're done with ramping, but we're still not done just yet because we have some ramp threats as well. Outside of our commander, we can make other things pretty massive too. Greater Tanuki, a 6/5 trampling dog for 6 mana, or we can channel it away by paying 2 and a green, discarding it, go getting a basic into play, tapped, then shuffling. Beanstalk Giant, a star with power touch equal to the number of lands we control, which again is going to be a massive number, and also it's got an adventure that can also ramp us too. Regal Behemoth, yeah, this thing being budget is huge. A 5/5 trampler enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch, which, yeah, we can easily keep with our just giant army. And then also we can easily get back with our giant commander too. Whenever you tap a land for mana while you're the Monarch, add additional mana of any, or 1 mana of any color. So basically double up on your production, which is quite fantastic. Next up, let's move on to attack number 5, Power Tower. Exponential growth is a great way to play with power. A sorcery for XX green. Again, we've got plenty of ways to dump a lot of mana into this if we want to. Until end of turn, double target creature's power X times. Not going to take too much mana into this, though, to turn our commander to a one-shot KO and take an opponent out of nowhere. Moving on, Inquisitor's Flail. Basically, this is going to double up combat damage dealt to and dealt by enchanted creature. It's not double strike, but it is a way to double it up. So yeah, equip this to your commander, and all of a sudden, hey, it hits, and it hits double. And also, again, it has flying, so it's going to get through on a lot of players. And even if it doesn't get through, it's going to have enough toughness to survive pretty much anything. Then we've got Choose Your Weapon. We can double target creature's power and touch on a turn for just 3 mana, or 5 damage to a flyer if we need to. So this can actually help get our commander through in some situations. Fire Trigger, there's the double strike card. We double up our commander's power. So again, not double, we hit twice essentially with it. So keep in mind, this plus the Inquisitor's Flail actually works to quadruple it, which is crazy. And then finally, well, not finally yet, sorry. Invigorating Surge, I got ahead of myself. Counter on target creature control, then double the number of counters on that creature. So again, we've got so many ways to ramp so quickly and effectively and efficiently. Let's say we have 10 counters on our commander. Cool. All right, put an extra one on it, then double it. 22. All of a sudden, our commander is hitting as a one-shot KO, which, of course, we can also double up with Varel the Hulklade. Pay Simic colors, tap, double number of each kind of counter target artifact, creature, or land. That is so effective, so efficient. More doubling. Brass Knuckles. If we equip this, essentially, we are going to have double strike as long as I have 2 more equipment attached to that creature, and this also copies when we play it too. So we can get 2 of them. And then finally, Raised by Giants. We can raise up our commander's base power toughness to a 10/10 with this in play just permanently. So the rest of those counters are just gravy on top of that. But now it's going to tactic number 6 coming through because, yeah, we need to get our commander through. A lot of the time, we're going to be able to get through on players because, again, it does have flying. That being said, if they've got some pesky flyers around, they could just jump block, but they're not going to be able to. We've got Haunted Cloak. Creature has vigilance, trample, and haste, so swing right away, and swing so you can vigilantly stay back on defense too, and trample over your opponent's creatures. Speaking of which, locks and Warhammer +3/+0, trample and lifelink, gain an absurd amount of life. Pad your life total while getting damage through, probably taking out an opponent. Sword of Vengeance does basically everything. +2/+0, first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste. What's not to love about something like that? And speaking of loving a card, Kamal, Fist of Corrosive. This is kind of a alternative win condition if we need it. Also, board wipe protection, also a win condition with our commander. It's a crazy good card. Pay green, target land, not just your own, becomes a 1/1 creature on turn. Sell your land. Pay 2 green, green, green. Creature control, get +3/+2, gain triple on turn. So basically an overrun effect that is repeatable. So we can actually do that a lot of times. Again, the amount of mana we can produce, help our commander get damage through, of course, or we can make a land army out of our creatures, swing through with them. Or hey, if an opponent maybe is casting a board wipe to try to stop us, we're like, yeah, I've got like 10 forests ready to go. You sure you want to cast that Wrath of God? Because if you do, I'm going to blow up all your lands. And that's your fault, not mine, because you cast the Wrath. But now let's move on to tactic number 7, Value Town. And value we shall get from cards like Rise and Shine, a sorcery for just 2 mana. But most likely we're going to pay 6 for it. Target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 0/0 artifact creature. Get 4 counters on it. And yeah, basically if we overload this, all of our artifacts become that, which of course includes all those food tokens that we are making thanks to our commander, so we can actually utilize our food tokens to take our opponents out instead, and that is quite juicy. Speaking of a juicy win condition, Simic Ascendancy, 2 mana enchantment. We can pay to get counters on a creature we control. Again, we've got plenty of ways to ramp a lot. On top of that, whenever one or more counters are put on a creature control, put that many growth counters on Simic Ascendancy. Yeah, we can easily get an absurd amount of counters on this, which is even one cast of our commander. Give your upkeep, it's got 20 or more counters on it, you win the game. So all of a sudden we're like, oh yeah, okay, I cast my commander for 10. Oh, look at that, I've got 20 counters on this. Game over. Moving on, though, outside of our commander drawing us cards, we also have other fantastic ways to do so. So let's talk about them in tack number 8. I Can Dig It. Explore. Play your land this turn, draw a card. So even this lets us get extra lands into play to ramp further. Speaking of which, Gretchen Titchwillow, an activated ability that lets us do just that. Draw a card, put a land from your hand on the battlefield for 4 mana. Again, we're going to have so much mana that we can ramp so quickly that we can get all of these abilities just all the time that we want and just get so far ahead of our opponents. I love it. Growth Spire, basically an Explore, but at instant speed, essentially. Pull for tomorrow, draw X cards, discard 1, so they can refill our hand in no time. Speaking of which, 3 mana, Hunter's Insight. Hey, our commander can hit for a ton, like a truck. Oh, by the way, 3 mana, let's draw cards based on the amount of damage that was dealt. Stroke of Genius, target player draws X cards. Eureka Moment, draw 2, land from your hand on the battlefield. You're going to see a pattern here and a lot of ways to ramp and draw 2. Well Lost Dreams, this one helps us ramp in a different way. Not ramp, sorry. Draw in a different way. Whenever you gain life, you may pay X. X is less than or equal to the amount of life you gain. If you do, draw X cards. So basically, hey, you know those foods that are sitting around that you can utilize for one reason or another, you can, now utilize them to gain some life. And when you do, again, pay 2, tap, gain 3 life, pay an extra 3, draw 3 cards. 5 mana, repeatable, draw 3 cards. Yeah, sign me up for that. Obviously, it works even better with blocks in Warhammer. We don't have to actually, even sacrifice your foods. Moving on, Urban Evolution. Draw 3, get initial land into play. Prime Speaker's Agana, another massive threat for us. A 1/1, enters battlefield, X counters on or XC Grace, power on creatures you control. Yeah, our commander is going to be massive. This gets even more, slightly more massive. When it enters the battlefield, draw cards equal to its powers. So yeah, just a massive draw spell, massive threat for us. And then finally, Shimmer Dragon. Oh my goodness, the potential for this card. As long as you got 4 more artifacts, it's got hexproof. It's going to have hexproof. Your commander is going to make more than 4 food tokens very easily. Tap 2 artifacts you control, draw a card. So again, basically for each food that we have, for each 2 food we have, I should say, tap both of them, draw 1 card. Repeatable card draw with this is absolutely crazy. But now that we talked about our plans, throw a wrench into our opponent's plans with things like, well, Alchemist Retrieval. 1 mana, bounce one of our things back to our hand. 2 mana, bounce any non-land permanent back to its owner's hand. Broken Bond, destroy an artifact or enchantment. And guess what? ramp. We have so many ways to ramp with this deck, so we can really get our commander out in a giant way. Moving on, you come to a river. Speaking of giant, return target nominated permanent to its owner's hand, or target creature gets +1/+0 and can't be blocked this turn. So again, our commander getting through and taking an opponent out. Filter out, return all non-creature non-land permanents back to their owner's hands. Consuming Tide, everyone bounces everything except for one thing, so our giant commander is probably going to stay in play, and then we can draw some cards if they've got cards in their hand. A lot of cards in their hand. Engulf the shore, bounce everything with toughness less than our islands back to their hands at instant speed. Our commander is going to stick around. Chances are our opponent's cards won't stick around. Aether Gale, 5 mana, bounce 6 things. Very effective, very efficient. Mystic Confluence, speaking of effective and efficient, choose 3. Counter a spell unless they pay 3. Return target creature to their hand, draw a card. So you can pick any 3, essentially. You can pick the same mode more than once. This can be very effective, very flexible. Junk Winder, gross card. Affinity for tokens. So this is probably just going to be 2 mana for us. On top of that, whenever a token enters the battlefield under control, tap target non-mana permanent opponent controls. It doesn't tap controllers on decks and tap step. So when we play our commander again, we already get so much value. Now on top of that, all those tokens coming into play are going to tap down probably everything we want to tap down. Scourge of Fleets, another great card. Enters the battlefield, return each creature opponent's control toughness X or less to their hand, or X number of islands you control. So kind of like a Engulf the Shore, but one-sided with this. And again, keep in mind with those bounce effects we have, maybe bounces back to our hand and do it again. But now that we've talked about every single non-land card in this deck, let's quickly go through one land in deck number 10, Great Land, with Rogue's Passage. Tap for a colorless, pay 4, tap, target creature can't be blocked this turn. Yeah, an unblockable commander that can be a one-shot KO is deadly. And again, it's just a free card in the deck, essentially. Again, it's not really taking up a spot. A fantastic card to include. Rogue's Passage, you are. But now as this episode is coming to a close, it's time for me to hear from you. So in the comments below, let me know your thoughts on this deck. If you are interested in this deck, make sure you check out that deck list link in the description below. Again, very budget friendly. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.